Okay, so we are live. Today we have a great episode. I literally say we have a great episode every single episode because they're always all great to me. Today we're going to be talking with Jackie Hettich of Vivid Health and Wellness and Daphne Olivier, the Unconventional Dietitian. We're going to be talking about all kind of fun stuff, their podcast, their events that they have coming up, some juicy details about some stuff that happened in the past year. But first, our studio sponsor for this episode is Optimized GP, Optimized Generator People. Optimized Generator People, they specialize in reliable home standby generator solutions. Generac generator solutions. I'll get that right. Basically, they are the experts in this field. They are a top 5 Generac dealer in the nation. They have tons of awards. I went over there and checked it out. I don't have a Generac home standby generator myself. I know some of you guys think I'm rich because I have a whole home water unit. I pay monthly, but you guys could also pay monthly if you want a whole home Generac generator solution. You can get started with it for just $600, and then after that, there's like small payments. But yeah, so if your power goes out during a hurricane or just a random outage, because our electrical system is just so great. Within 30 seconds, you have power back in your house and you're good. And you can get back on to your Wi-Fi and all that good stuff. But check out Optimized Generator People, optimizedgp.com, and enjoy the episode.
When it's too perfect, people just tune out.
Yeah, when it's too perfect, people tune out. So you're tuned in. Our next sponsor, and this is a sponsor who's been with me for a while, Chase Group Construction. You can take the lead and become your one point of contact for the entire design build process. So if you're looking to build a new business, renovate a business, whatever you want to do with construction, he has it. He's your guy. He's building some really cool stuff right now. A lot of it is in Youngsville area. He's building a new restaurant that has a pickleball element.
Ooh.
So that's kind of cool.
That sounds like fun.
Yeah. Really great guy. He's also building a preschool Montessori school in Scott. And the owners of that school are local. They're really great people. I had them on the podcast an episode or so ago. So check that out. But with that, man, chasegroupconstruction.com. Check them out. And yeah, we appreciate our sponsors. Okay, so Jackie, Daphne, welcome to the T Podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, so tell me a little bit about you guys. Daphne, I've heard of your name several times whenever I've sat with Taylor Trichet at News 15. Mm-hmm. You had a spot.
Right.
Almost every single episode, like every other Tuesday that I would go on, you had a spot there talking about food things, but you remoted in.
Yeah.
And I was like, why doesn't she just come in? So
I had a weekly spot on the show every Tuesday, and we just started as a remote spot, and it never really dawned on me that I should maybe go into the studio.
Well, why not?
I don't know. I think that just the ease of having a remote spot made it more doable.
Yeah. So tell us about yourself. You're named the Unconventional Dietitian, or that's your company. Why is your company called the Unconventional Dietitian?
So I have a private nutrition practice. I started about 15 years ago. And at the time I started it as my food coach. And that just seemed like, I don't know, like the right term. I don't know. And then I would go to networking events and people would say, this is Daphne. She's the dietitian of my food coach, but really she's kind of unconventional. And so after really kind of a couple of years of that happening, I was like, the unconventional dietitian sounds way cooler and more, approachable and exciting than my food coach. That's so boring. So
that sounds like something that was made off of Canva.
Yeah. Well, I'm clearly not a business person or marketing marketing for sure. But so I just rebranded as the Unconventional Dietitian, and that was probably, I don't know, 8-9 years ago, something like that.
Yeah.
And so what makes me unconventional? It's kind of a 3-part thing. So one is that, we do just general nutrition information, but we can do, as a functional dietitian or functional nutritionist, do a lot of testing. So whenever general information isn't getting you where you need to go, then we can do some other testing to see a little bit more specific about individualized nutrition. And so the individualized part of it is not the norm, And then I also think of, I recognize and understand that there's a strong emotional attachment with food. And so I'm not a therapist, but can talk pretty well about the emotional attachment and start to kind of unwind some of those things and rewire the emotional side of food.
Okay, yeah, there's definitely an emotional thing to food, especially in South Louisiana.
Yeah,
it's
everywhere. I mean, we have certain ties to certain things here, but I've lived in other places and they have
same thing.
Same thing.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah,
different
we
foods.
eat to celebrate. We eat when we're sad.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a nationwide. There's an epidemic with people eating because they're sad right now. Okay, so Jackie, tell us a little bit about you. We've had you on before with your husband, which that's a whole different animal with Sean there. But tell us a little bit about you for those who don't know you.
That also wasn't my finest work. I was so scared to talk. I am the founder of Vivid Health and Wellness, formerly Vivid Infusion and Wellness. That was my first foray into running a business, really. And much like Daphne, I'm not a good business person. I just like this mission that we're on, trying to get people to be healthy. So when I closed my infusion clinic last year, I decided to pivot into health education and work more closely with Daphne, who I just adore. So that's me. I'm working on my health coach certification and just trying to change our little community.
Yeah. So you say you're not a good business person. I only know a handful of people that are actually good business people.
Right.
Everybody else is just trying to create something cool and are literally bumping their way through it. Like me, I would not classify myself as a good business person either. But you would be like, oh no, he's lying. Like he's got all this, he's been developing Lafayette for a while. I'm like, yeah, I just created a Facebook page and just started posting pictures.
I think there's a difference between being a visionary and you can create a business and actually running it and doing the boring stuff. I don't have that in me. Luckily, I married somebody who's he loves the boring stuff. So
yeah. So the paperwork is the part that I don't like.
Taxes? I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
No, don't like any of that.
I think it's just kind of, it's a trial and error. I mean, it's, we learn as we go. I learned the things that don't work really well. And then, from there, kind of formulate a different plan to figure out what does work. So it's always trial and error.
Yeah. So are you guys originally from here? I know, Jackie, I think you are.
I am.
Yes. Daphne, are you originally from here? With the last name Olivier, it sounds like you might be.
Okay, so I'm from Denham Springs, which is right outside of Baton Rouge. I moved to Lafayette and married my husband, who was the Olivier. But I moved to Lafayette in 1993 to go to college. So it shows my age.
Yeah.
But, and lived in Lafayette during college, moved away. We lived in Tampa for a little while, in New Orleans, and then came back here. But I've been here almost as long as I've been anywhere else. So I'm not from Lafayette, but I would consider this home.
Okay. So I like to ask people this all the time whenever they are not originally from here, but obviously they have roots here, but have lived elsewhere. Like, what is something you notice about other areas that makes Lafayette different, or makes places that you've lived different from Lafayette, both good and bad? Like, what are some things that keep you here, essentially?
Yeah, I think just the culture here is so warm and welcoming, and it's a little big city. Lafayette's not a big city, but it kind of has a big city vibe, but it's small enough that there's, you're never more than 6 degrees of separation from anyone. So I think I like that feel of it. We originally, when we moved back to Acadiana, moved to Brobridge, and that's a very different vibe from Lafayette. Even as close as it is, it's just very different. So that's part of what I like about it, is that everybody kind of knows everybody or has ties, which is the benefit, and also maybe not so great sometimes. So that's there's two sides to that coin, but I do appreciate that, and I like the kind of big city feel with it being more quaint and tight knit.
Yeah, like I say that all the time. Literally, those exact words, little big city, like, or a little big town. But I know that's like a country band, I think. But like, I say little big city because it is. It's like we have that big city vibe, that personality. We want to be a bigger city, but we also still want to be like, did you hear about so-and-so? Like,
Yeah.
Like the back patio is a wild place, man.
That's the southern, like, we all
Yeah.
gossip a little bit.
Yeah.
I've lived in other places too. I lived in Kansas for a while and Texas, and I loved them both for different reasons, but we have each other's back here in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
Like when the flood happened, we were all just like cleaning out strangers' houses.
Right.
And whenever, can we curse on this thing?
Yeah, you good.
When shit goes down, we we just jump into action here, and we're really warm. I think that's, not to bring up my husband again, but he's a Yankee and he moved down here and just realized how warm and welcoming, and that Southern hospitality is really special.
This is
Right,
just a big
Shauna.
family, you know?
It is.
Just like any
feed you?
family. Yeah. And just like any family, like some people you're really close to and some you're like, yeah, we know them. We're connected, but
I love them, but I don't like them.
yeah, we're not gonna hang out too close.
We did get a comment from Craig Gilbo, rather, not Greg. Daphne used to work for me 15 plus years ago. Very knowledgeable and a great person.
Oh,
So
that's
true.
nice, Craig. Hey, Craig.
Yeah. So I like talking about Lafayette. I do. I'm not originally from here, but I'm only from an hour away. So like close enough, but like literally I grew up in a town where like maybe there's like 400 people.
Oh, wow.
And it dips, because there's a lot of older people. So like there's years where the population is less. And then there's years where the population is more when all the
surge.
younger people come up and have kids.
Yeah.
So it's like it ebbs and flows just like any town. But, it was a very undeveloping place.
Yeah.
And moving to Lafayette, it felt like very similar to the little country town that I came from, because I was like, I feel like I know people here, but I don't. Like, I feel like I can go down the road, and if I like have a flat tire or if like I need help, I can go to that person's house without feeling like they're gonna like come at me. I don't know.
Right.
But sometimes some people will come at you, but I feel like it's good here. And then I've lived in Lake Charles for a little bit, a couple of years, and I'm like, I didn't feel the same thing in Lake Charles, and like Lake Charles is not that much smaller than Lafayette, but it's just different.
Yeah. I can say for sure that there's no place in Louisiana that I would live besides Lafayette.
Really?
Yeah.
That is a statement.
Yeah. I lived in New Orleans, and it was, it had its own thing going on. That was before I had my son. So before we were a family, and it doesn't feel like a good place to raise a family. So, but the culture, the vibe in Louisiana, I mean, if I were to move, there are other places that I would move outside of Louisiana, but in Louisiana, I wouldn't live anywhere besides Lafayette.
Yeah, I like it.
Stamp that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we're at about 13 minutes, so I think we still got a little bit of time to kind of to gab a little bit. What is something that this is something I don't really ask. I usually say, what do you like about Lafayette? What are your favorite places? But what is something you hate about this town? Or just straight up,
The
like,
roads.
this is patio. Oh, the roads. Okay, good. Yeah, the roads suck.
I would say, the temperature certainly is less desirable than I would like it to be, but I don't think we have a lot of good access, bike access, pedestrian access. We don't have, like, you have to have a car to get into a car to be able to go most places. And I feel like that would bring an appeal to Lafayette that we don't have. And so to be able to connect to different places, so I don't live too far from downtown, and so we'll hop on our bike and ride down here. But outside of that connection, we can go to the park. But there aren't a lot of places, like if I wanted to hop on my bike and just go to visit Jackie, I can't do that because we don't have that kind of connection. So I think that
and you would probably get killed for being
right. So we have, a quote unquote bike lane on Johnston Street, but I would not put myself on that bike lane unless I was like attempting to go out, I just wouldn't do it.
I'm scared for people that are riding that bike lane every day.
And there are a lot of people that really kind of depend on that,
Yeah.
or like that's their mode of transportation. And I feel like if there's anything missing from Lafayette, that would be it.
A more bikeable, walkable.
Do you think
city.
people just don't realize that it's a bike lane and they use it as a driving lane, or are they just being rude?
What I think it is not so much driving in it, is when you're pulling out of a driveway,
Right.
people fail to think about that as a lane that there might be traffic in. So whenever I'm pulling out of a restaurant driveway or, anywhere down Johnston, I have to keep a mental note like, oh, there's a bike lane right here. Let me take an extra look just a little bit over
Right.
from where the cars are driving. Because I was not too long ago, probably earlier this year, I was sitting at a restaurant and everybody started freaking out and going to the windows and looking out. I'm like, what happened? There was a guy on the ground with a bike and this truck. And I'm like, oh my God, did this guy just get hit? Thankfully, he was kind of halfway standing up and you can tell he was shaken up, but like ambulance pulled up and they put him back there and they checked him out. He got back out, thankfully, but still like,
That's scary.
Yeah.
he was either going in there and like on the bike lane and like the guy, I guess, pulled out of the driveway or vice versa. Something happened. I was like, yeah. So
Way
I'm
too
always
many
trying to
people
keep
are
in
on
mind.
phones while driving now.
Yeah.
That's
Oh, yeah.
Well,
way too
so
dangerous.
I went to Virginia a couple of years ago, and they had, I believe I flew into Raleigh. From Raleigh to Williamsburg, which was where I was going, there was a bike lane that was a road size width, like a road size width. So it wasn't, this big. It was a road size, and it was about, I don't know, 10 to 15 feet off of the main road, and it was a 50-mile path. And I felt like that is a bike lane. What we have is just, it's frightening.
Yeah,
It's terrifying.
what we have is like a margin of error, like
Right.
just like for the
like
cars.
you can't fall off
Right.
your bike.
No,
Right. It
no.
was just an afterthought. So I mean, clearly when they built Johnson Street, they weren't thinking about bike lanes
Right.
then.
They added those
but-
after the fact.
Yeah. So I feel like that's the one thing that I feel like we could really, we would get a whole lot more people here, like kind of cool people.
I used to,
think.
when I lived in Kansas, I lived in Wichita downtown, and I used to ride my bike everywhere. I would ride my bike to work every day. I'd take my little bike up the elevator,
Yep.
and it was awesome. It's just a
Yeah.
great way to get around. And
Yeah.
And of course,
Shame.
from a health aspect, I think about like there's such a lack of movement that if we had accessible, easy ways to be able to get places on a bike, that would it'd be a better option for us.
Yeah, I agree. Like, growing up in the country, we the roads had such wide shoulders that I felt like I had a bike lane, even though technically they didn't even think about it as a bike lane. It was just
Yeah.
a shoulder where you pull over if your car's busted.
Right.
But I used it as a bike lane. And
Yeah.
whenever I moved here, my wife and I got a couple of bikes and we went down the frontage road in Karen Crow. This is before Super One, before Walmart, and it was fine. I was like, I don't feel like I'm getting killed, but every once in a while there'd be a car passing and we'd make sure to, keep in mind where they're at and hopefully they got over. Now I wouldn't ride my bike down the frontage road.
So I actually trained for a duathlon a couple of years ago, and that's where we would go, is on the frontage road to ride bikes. And so we'd ride like 30 miles or so, but we would go early on either a Saturday or Sunday morning.
Yeah.
And going where we were going was fine, but by the time we were coming back, it was getting a little bit later, and people are starting to move around. And there are a few times that a large truck passed by. I'm like, that was way too close. That doesn't feel safe. So we
And
just
people
again
don't
don't have
people
that.
don't slow down.
Yeah, no, you're right. They do not slow down, so they're easily going 60
Yeah.
miles an hour.
And if they're looking at their phone at that very last second before
Yeah.
they even look at, like,
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine. There's been a lot of close calls, especially in the Karen Crow area that I've seen while I was in the vehicle. I'm like, oh my God, that bicyclist was trying to dodge a car coming in from his lane behind him. So he gets over and we almost clipped him. I'm like, this is wild. Like this does not need to happen. But anyway, we're at a point where I want to go ahead and get my last sponsor in, and then we will get into the nitty gritty of some stuff that you guys got going on. We're going to talk about the IV thing and why you closed that, what happened with that, and the transition. And you guys got an event coming up and all that good stuff. So we're going to be talking about that. But real quick, our next sponsor is the Music Academy of Acadiana. If you're looking to learn music, you can be old, you can be young, you can be a kid, all that good stuff. That's the same thing as young, but some people have different perceptions of it. You can learn music. the Music Academy of Acadiana, they teach voice. They help you improve your voice, drums, violin, saxophone, any string instrument, pretty much any instrument that you can blow through. They have it there. If you're not an instrument person, maybe you don't have a good voice. I don't know. You want to be behind the scenes. They even teach audio production, so you can help make somebody else sound better. And they have an in-house award-winning recording studio where a lot of well-known local musicians have recorded albums there. So a little known fact there, but you probably heard it if you listen to the podcast. But really great school, founded by UL Lafayette Music School graduate Tim Benson, who is also in a early 2000s-esque alternative rock screamo cover band. If you've never checked them out, every type of music you listen to as far as alternative and screamo or emo, whatever you want to call it, bringing the early 2000s, they sound just like all of those bands. It's really cool. But anyway, check out the school, Music Academy, Acadiana.com. And with that, we'll get on with the episode. Okay, so Jackie, last time I had you on, we were talking about your Vivid Infusions business and how cool it was that you could get an IV when you're like, dehydrated, or if you had like a crazy workout, and you can just get juiced up. And now that's no longer a thing. Actually, it's still an IV clinic. It's just not yours. So what happened with that?
Yeah, I saw they had a place open up. So back last summer, we were contacted about some regulatory changes. The medical board and I think the nursing board, they put out a statement basically saying that nurses couldn't mix IV bags anymore. So the way we were operating is we were working under standing orders from the medical director, who was a physician. We have these standing orders. If you fit these parameters, your blood pressure was under a certain number, your health history, we checked the boxes. And if you qualified to receive an IV, the nurse could administer the IV, mix the bag. The changes that the medical board was trying to put out was that only a doctor or a pharmacist could mix the bag. So take the vitamins, put them in the saline bag. That's it. So first of all, that was like way below their pay grade. To pay a physician or a pharmacist to be full-time on staff was going to be really difficult. The workaround that they gave us was that we could push these vitamins directly into the line, which wasn't safer for the patients. And the doctors and nurses' licenses were on the line if we didn't comply. So I was like the Rain Man for probably 2 months trying to figure out a solution to stay in compliance, protect the physicians and nurses' license that worked for me, and also be safe for the patient. And also remain profitable as a business. And I just couldn't all four of them were a priority for me. And I couldn't find a solution that was going to work for everybody, because there was ways to do it that would have been cheaper and less safe. But again, I'm not a good business person, and I make decisions based on emotions and my feelings. And I love the people that work for me, and I love my clients, and I don't care about money. Yeah. So after kind of spinning my wheels for a while, I realized that I didn't want to stay open and make it work. And a lot of people, most everybody has stayed open, and people have made changes, and some locations are pushing IVs. Some places are not doing anything different, because I will say this, I closed against the advice of my attorneys. They were like, nothing's going to happen to you if you stay open. It's fine.
Wow.
And the medical establishment told me to hire a lobby. It was just
very political.
It was a very political financial thing. I think that someone might have had an agenda to try to weed out some competition, and I don't like games. So I just decided that my heart really wasn't in it enough to stay open, and it was time to move on to something more important.
Yeah. So there was already existing competition in Lafayette for that?
Yes. So whenever we originally opened, there was not very many clinics. I think it was us and Drip IV and maybe a handful of small places that were doing it as a side service they might have been like a spa or whatever other clinic, and they were doing IVs on the side. But Drip and Vivid were pretty much the only just IV clinics. And then by the time we closed, I don't even know how many clinics there are, like 10, 15, just the market was so saturated. And that was another aspect of why we decided to close. It was like, you know what? We're just like squeezing juice out of a rock at this point. And we had the highest online traffic, and we had a really, really big client base, and they were very loyal, and it was emotional for them for us to close. But there's plenty of places you can still get IVs. And, you know,
I just think it's wild that now knowing what kind of happened and the advice that you were given, and you still pursued one way, knowing that there's another IV clinic there is wild. I'm like, it almost, nothing against the company that's there now, but it just feels like if I were you, I would just feel so like slapped in the face. Like, really? Like,
yeah, I don't.
Okay.
I made the right decision, and I sleep really well at night knowing that I closed, and I wish them well.
Okay.
But I would not have done that if that was me.
Got it.
I just think it's a weird time in the economy, and there's so much competition. But I don't know anything about the company, and I hope they do well. I'm very, very glad that I closed.
Okay.
So
Good. Well, okay. So you pivoted.
I did.
And you still have the Vivid name.
Yeah.
So tell me the pivot. What was the pivot for you? Obviously, you care about the mission, the people more. What does the pivot mean for you?
So I created Vivid, and I didn't want that to go to waste. I knew I was unofficially like health coaching people whenever they were in the clinic anyway, because I was just there for funsies. You know, I didn't administer any IVs. I was just there to talk to clients. And I realized over the 2.5 years that we were open, how much I loved talking to people and helping them unofficially on their little health journey, whatever they were trying to do. And I realized after, and also it had a lot to do with Daphne and I, we never really worked together officially, but we would kind of refer clients to Daphne if they needed a dietitian. And we were at coffee one day, which we would do from time to time, just kind of hang out. And we were having these conversations about whatever we were going off on a tangent about that day and realizing that not enough people are having these conversations, or if they are, it's private little conversations.
Yeah, they're all siloed into like their own little like coffee talk conversation.
Right. When really like there's this health revolution that needs to happen. People they don't know what they don't know. So we decided that we wanted to help our community grow and become more healthy and educate them on all the things health and wellness. So it's not just about nutrition, but it's about financial wellness and relationships and what else have we? I mean, like
emotions,
to gut health,
physical health, and
everything. The umbrella of health and wellness is really wide and far-reaching. So we're just kind of trying to touch it all because we're also multidimensional and we all need different things, and we're lacking in most of those areas. So it's kind of that's my life's mission now, and we're working together on that.
So I guess a question I have is, what are like 3 things that the average person is lacking an extreme amount of knowledge about that could help their day? Like it feels like y'all have like some little nuggets of good information. Obviously you have a whole podcast and there's a whole thing around it. You mentioned gut health. I feel like that's the thing right now. Like the gut is really where a lot of your health is. Yeah. So like, what are 3 things that people can make an actionary move today that would actually benefit them tomorrow, if there's anything?
Gut health was going to be the one that I started with. I feel like that's the foundation of everything.
But that is also very nuanced.
Yes,
there's a lot involved in gut health. It's not just like, hey, go
take probiotics,
rub your belly and make your gut feel better. It's very nuanced. There's a lot of information that from the medical arena are still not really known. I think if we're talking like just health in general, the simplest things I think are the things that often get forgotten. We need to drink water. I can't tell you how many people tell me over and over, I just don't like the taste of water. Okay.
Oh, God.
So we need to drink water. We need to move. So whether that's going for a walk, we talked about bike riding, whether it's doing some kind of, like, what is it called? Like the little boutique gym places where you go and do like Pilates or bar classes or something like something like that. But we need to move our body. We need to drink water. We need to move our body, and we need to, I think, allow our in this day and age, allow our nervous system to downregulate, because we get wound up very easily and we don't have really good skills to be able to downregulate that. And when you're constantly living at a very high, like vibrational level, eventually you get tired and then you really can't do anything very effectively. So those would be the three things. I think, again, very, very basic and very foundational that across the board, everybody can get support with.
Yeah, we're strung out. We're all on our phones and busy and just very stressed
caffeinated.
out. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, alcohol, that combination.
Yeah, especially in South Louisiana. Good Lord.
I think another one that I would add to that is just the community aspect is so important, I think. And that's why we started the Health Revolution and the podcast. Really, it's if you're on this health journey, doing it alone is really unsustainable, and just having a community to rely on and kind of do it together is a lot more, it's just helpful to have people, whether they're doing the same thing that you're doing or they just are supportive for you. It's crucial.
I want to go back on this water topic because the fact that it sounds like somebody told you that they don't like the taste of water.
Not somebody. I hear that
all
at
the time?
least weekly.
That's so wild. Okay.
Yeah. Water doesn't have a taste.
No, well, if you're from Karen Crow, okay, it might have a taste.
That's true.
It depends on where your water comes from. I know, I get what they're saying, but if you drink just clean water, like,
it just feels good.
I don't know. Like, okay.
I don't understand it either, but I hear it all the time.
Is it because it's boring?
You know what?
Like we start
Probably.
drinking Kool-Aid as
boring.
kids, and we like
It doesn't have a half a gallon of sugar.
Yeah.
in
Right.
it.
And so when you really look at it, anything that's not water, just about, I mean, besides like black coffee, which who's drinking black coffee? Not very many people. Just about. You do.
Weirdo.
Cold. I know. Weirdo. She only drinks cold coffee. I know that. But everything else is sweetened. So whenever whether it's like sugar sweetened or artificially sweetened, so whenever you take that sweetness out, then it becomes much less exciting,
Yeah, less exciting. So funny. The Tea Podcast is not because I like to gossip, even though that happens, because we're from the South. But I like sweet tea. However, since starting this podcast and getting a little older, and then also literally at the same time I started this podcast, my dad experienced in that same year a mild heart attack. Like mild to where like they did, I don't know if it's ultrasounds or whatever, they checked his heart and there was no issues. So
it was a wake-up call.
Yes, it was a wake-up call. I did not realize that he was struggling with diabetes, whether that be pre or 1 or 2, whatever that the case is. I'm not really familiar with all of it just yet, but I didn't realize he had dealing with that. And after that point, my parents told me, oh yeah, like he's having to watch and do this. I'm like, dang, I didn't realize all this. Our family, we love ice cream. Who doesn't? But like sweets is just a big thing. I don't know. And so after that event and the doctors, one of the ways that the doctors explained it, and I don't know if this is like 100% factual, but for me it stuck, and it was like, that sounds so scary, is that sugar's fine in moderation. Your body does need it, but when you have so much of it in your bloodstream, this is how I'm no kidding you. I don't know if this is accurate information, but this is what I heard, that it's almost as if the sugar is sandpaper or sand rushing through your blood veins and like just wreaking havoc through your body. Like, I don't know if that's factual. I feel like it melts. I don't know. I can't imagine like granules flowing through my veins. Like, that sounds so bad. But like, is there truth behind that, or is that just something to like scare my dad?
Well, so you're right. Sugar does dissolve, so you don't have granules of sugar in your bloodstream.
It's not sand,
but
literally.
It's the elevation in your blood sugar. There's a really finite amount of blood sugar or glucose that can be helpful, and whenever it gets beyond the useful point, then it becomes inflammatory. And so the inflammation that happens with elevated blood sugar is essentially what's causing that scraping, or that's a great visual, but causing the damage to the inside of your blood vessels. So it's not actual sugar and sand like kind of you would think of it, but it is causing inflammation, and it usually happens over the diagnosis of diabetes usually happens over about a 7 to 10 year time period. So when you are diagnosed, that process of elevated blood sugar has been happening for at least 7 years prior to the diagnosis of diabetes.
I don't remember the exact number. I'm going to make these numbers up, but I read a study recently that today we eat per day what people had in the amount of sugar that we have per day is like what someone 100 years ago would have had an entire year.
Yeah.
Stop that.
Yeah.
Stop the madness.
Yeah. So you're right.
Rough
a little bit of
estimate.
sugar is not bad necessarily, but as we just talked about, there's sugar in all of our beverages. So if we're drinking sugar all day long, and then there's sugar in so many of our food supply, ketchup, barbecue sauce,
Everything has sugar in it.
not just candy and cookies,
Right.
but everything has sugar in it. So we do get a tremendous amount of sugar. Unless if you're not paying attention, sugar tastes good, so we gravitate towards things that taste good. So we get sugar in a wide variety of ways, more so than we used to. And so our food industry is kind of pushing that on us because it's making them profitable.
They're pushing the sugar and taking away the fiber.
Oh yeah.
Like it's so much so that they literally made a whole industry where like, oh, we'll sell you the fiber.
Right.
Like, here you
Fiber
go.
One cereal,
Yeah.
basically. Yeah.
Like, or like just Metamucil or whatever the things is.
Just
Is it
eat some
Beneful or whatever it is?
vegetables.
Yeah.
Right. Like, so look, I like where this is going because I have my own questions, and this is good. So speaking of going back to water, somebody said they don't like the taste of water. Okay, going back to tea, I brew my own tea at home. Literally, it's all water that I start with. And then I drop a tea bag in, it steeps and it turns brown. I add, in my opinion, for me, it's a very minimal amount of sugar. I say minimal, I'll probably add a little bit more, but not that much. I used to put a lot more. Per gallon, only put, I think, a 2/3 cup, which is a little less than a cup. And I think it's fine. I don't know. It might not be fine, but it's good.
I know
and it's
you're not making eye contact with Dad.
I'm not making eye contact.
I'm not the food police.
I
I'm
don't
not
wanna be
judging.
judged.
I'm just I'm
not
here
here to
to
judge.
if you ask a question, I will tell you a truthful answer.
Okay, but what I'm getting at, not talking about the sugar itself, but the tea component, is that still consuming water?
So interestingly enough, anything that is caffeinated will not allow you to absorb and utilize the water that's in there. So coffee and tea, caffeinated. So tea contains far less caffeine than coffee does. But coffee and tea, while you are getting something, it's not the same as drinking a glass of water.
It's because it's a diuretic.
Because the caffeine is a diuretic.
Okay,
Which makes
that
you
makes sense.
pee. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
water.
you're consuming it, but you're not absorbing it as efficiently as if it were just a glass of water.
Starting to click. I do pee a whole lot more after I drink a lot more tea. God.
alternate.
I knew that coffee was a diuretic, and I don't do a whole lot of coffee because, especially if I'm going to have like a morning meeting, I'm not doing the coffee thing. If I don't know where the bathroom is, I don't deal with it because I'm like anyway. But so what about decaf? So like if I go a decaf route,
Yeah, so that would be considered what I call hydrating fluids.
Okay.
So,
Even
juice,
decaf coffee?
I mean, there is still a little bit of caffeine in there, but it's such a minimal amount that I would still consider it a hydrating fluid. Juice, even milk. I mean, these are not things that I strongly encourage, but those are all hydrating fluids. So it's not just water. Water is the best because it doesn't have any added, calories and anything else with it. But it's not just water. There are a variety of things that would be considered hydrating fluids. So as long as it's not caffeine or alcohol, really, it's hydrating.
Okay. So I'm pulling deep here, some stuff that I've been wondering in my day life. Coke Zero. Mm-hmm. Okay. I love a good Coke Zero. I switched from regular Cokes to Coke Zero after my dad had his thing. And then my wife, she went and did some blood work, and she came back where they said, look, you might want to consider reducing sugar in your diet. I was like, okay, well, we do drink a lot of Cokes right here. I drink less Coke. She loves Coke with every meal. I like tea. Every once in a while I have water. She thinks I'm crazy whenever I have water with the meal. She's like, I have to have like soda. I'm like, oh no. But, so Coke Zeros, obviously it's not, I wouldn't say it's good, but is it better?
So if we're starting with Coke being like the bottom of the barrel,
Yeah, right.
okay, because it's caffeinated and highly
I see where
sugared.
this is going.
Coke Zero doesn't have the sugar. However, it is sweetened with aspartame, and aspartame is an artificial sweetener that is not great. So aspartame has been shown to lead to a lot of neurological issues.
Oh.
So is it better? It's not sugar. I wouldn't encourage it. I don't think it's good. Again, starting at the bottom of the barrel, that might be a very small step up.
If sugar's the thing you're avoiding, it doesn't have sugar, but it's
Right.
not a
I
healthy choice.
Yeah, I
When you
still
say
wouldn't
the
consider it good.
neurological, that word.
Neurological,
That's, what do you mean exactly?
the way the brain functions.
Yeah.
So it is. It's been linked to things like Parkinson's disease. Gulf War syndrome is another one, which I'm not super familiar with. But it affects the way, and we're talking aspartame over a long period of time. So drinking one Coke Zero is not going to do anything for you, but aspartame is a sweetener. That's a chemical-based sweetener that's found in a huge, wide variety of mostly beverages, chewing gum, that sort of thing, some sugar-free candies. And over time, it will affect the way the brain fires, the neurological signals that are firing in the brain.
Okay.
So all of our diet drinks, all of our zero drinks, all of those are aspartame sweetened.
Arguably more damaging than cane sugar.
Correct. It depends on, so if you're trying to lower just blood sugar and decrease your sugar intake, then the aspartame sweetened beverages will do that, but I would not consider them to be a healthier alternative, really, because it's just changing the problem.
Yeah.
It's one problem for the other.
Oh, so it's like, which problem do I want to have? God,
Neither.
I know neither. Clearly,
So
but water
ultimately-
tastes weird.
Ultimately, the answer is that we want to decrease the sweetness that you're taking in. So whether it's coming from sugar or coming from aspartame or any other artificially sweetened beverage, decreasing the sugar, the sweet taste will change the cravings of sugar that you have.
What's your opinion on those poppy? Because there's like poppy soda or Ollie.
Olipop, yeah. So those are sweetened. They do have a little bit of sugar in them, but they're sweetened with, I think, monk fruit and stevia, mostly monk fruit, stevia, and erythritol, which are other types of sugar substitutes. As of what we know now, so erythritol is a sugar alcohol, so it gets filtered through the liver in a little bit different way than some of the other sweeteners do. But what we know now, there's no reason to eliminate those. They are going to give a sweet taste, but they're not linked to any known health issues.
I also like Culture Pop. That one's my favorite. It's just another one.
Okay, I haven't tried those.
So those are kind of the newfangled, new age sodas that, again, at this point, they don't necessarily have known issues. But again, if we're going, I mean, we could talk like this about sweetness stuff for hours.
That's literally what we do every Tuesday.
Well, I mean, I think it's an important part because we're all trying to figure out how to like do better.
Yeah.
And when we think we're doing better, we may be doing.
Yeah. So doing better is simple. Like it's simple in concept. It's not always easy though. So, you know, getting away from sweetened. So this is another kind of interesting thing. Whenever your tongue tastes something sweet, your tongue sends signals to your brain and tells your brain, hey, something's coming down the pike. So the brain sends signals to the digestive system to say, okay, we taste sweetness, ramp up the digestive enzymes to break down this sweetness, whatever it is. So if it's sugar or anything sugar related, ice cream, you know, those kind of things, then the digestive enzymes have something to break down. If it's not sugar, but it's artificially sweetened, so that's even including your Culture Pops and, you know, the more newer age ones. If it's artificially sweetened, then that same thing is happening, that your mouth is telling your brain something, your brain is sending signals to your digestive system, but there's nothing for your digestive system to break down. So then the digestive system sends signals back to the brain saying, hey, we were supposed to, you know, have something here, give me something to break down. And so the research shows that you tend to maybe have less sugar. So with all of your diet drinks and things like that, have less sugar, but your carbohydrate consumption doesn't change drastically. So you'll tend to crave more things that have carbohydrates in them. So whether it's like crackers or granola bars or, you know, candy or, you know, other things, other sources of sweetness that are not coming directly from the soda necessarily, but the carbohydrate content overall in the diet doesn't necessarily change.
Wow.
It's so nuanced, and
yeah,
you know, you make a little adjustment in your life and there's really a billion more things to tackle. And that's part of our mission too, is it's so daunting to take it on by yourself and all at once. So we always talk about like small steps, just one thing at a time. Don't get overwhelmed with all the things that you need to change.
Yeah.
Just make one improvement, like make one thing a habit at a time.
And that's why part of the health revolution, we're really trying to develop a community of people so that you have support when you find out information about, well, this is what happened to my dad. Maybe, you know, I'm worried about him, but I'm worried about me and my kids. Like, what do we do with all of this information? And so when you have a community of people where everyone is more like-minded and thinking about health in general as a community, then we can kind of just level up a little bit. Or you have somebody to call and talk to and say, you know, this is what's going on. I don't even know what to do. I don't know what the next step is. And that person can just be there to support you either mentally or offer something that could be helpful.
And there's also a growing movement within the medical community. I find like a lot of nurses, but even physicians and just different medical providers that are trying to lean more functional and dig deeper into this whole world. And we've had so many medical professionals come to these events and either wanting to learn more about how to implement it into their practice or just have permission to talk about it. It's a really cool movement that's happening right now.
Yeah. Look, I had several other questions and I just looked at the time. I'm like, okay, we can talk. This is something I feel like can go on for another hour and a half, 2 hours. Yeah. Because I was going to ask like, what about fruit? Fruit is sweet. And like, that's bad, right? Like, you know, at this point, I feel like the only thing we should be taking in is water.
Well, fruit's not bad.
Fruit's not bad. I mean, this is where it gets very nuanced.
Yeah.
So if you're eating a piece of fruit, you can only eat so much apple before your jaw's like, okay, I'm done with this.
Yeah.
Versus if you're drinking that same sugar, the consumption is much larger in a beverage. So drinking apple juice and eating an apple are very, very, very different. They're not the same thing.
And the apple has all the fiber that helps your body.
Has the color. I mean, there's two totally different things.
one more thing, and then we'll go into the talking about the event and all that good stuff. There's a guy on TikTok who I love. My mom and dad follow him, and what he does is very informational. Where he has one of those like readers
Continuous
on his
glucose
arm.
monitor.
Yeah, glucose monitor, and he eats a meal that people are familiar with, and they want to see the immediate spike after that, or if lack thereof. And so one thing he did, and he does a bunch of different foods, like he'll do a lot of starches and he'll try to mix it up. He'll try different breads, and it's really interesting to see the different breads. And he's like, oh, did you know that like sourdough in the store is not real sourdough? Like it's got a yeast component and it's not supposed to, like true artisan sourdough is different. And I was like, God, I did not know that. But one thing he did, and I think about this and I'm like, we literally learned this like in life, like just everything's built this way. It's like, what he did, he had a plate of protein, rice or something like that, and then a vegetable. And then before that, either before that, I don't know if it was a salad or if he put, he changed the orientation of what he ingested first. Mm-hmm. So, and this is like 2 or 3 videos he did this. So he said, I'm going to eat the heavy greens first. Then I'm going to start with the protein. Then I'm going to end with the starch. And then he said, now I'm going to do the starch. And like each video, he showed the results. Same plate, just different order of what he consumed first. Starting with the heavy greens, his blood sugar was drastically lower because he ingested the fiber first. And the fiber caused the digestive system to not metabolize the sugar or whatever language he used as fast as if he took in the sugar first and then the greens later. It just changed the order. I'm like, that is fascinating.
Yeah, you can eat the same stuff, just the order that you eat. The glucose goddess talks about that too. I can't remember her name. She's a French scientist. Yeah. But she wrote 2 books about that.
Yeah, the glucose goddess.
It's so wild.
My kids even now, they're like, we got to eat our vegetables first and then our meat. And, if you just implement that into your life, you can eat the cookie after dinner and it doesn't affect you as much.
So anytime we do a dinner at home, like if we're going to cook, or even if we go out and like a salad is included in whatever, I definitely eat the salad. I know sometimes there's iceberg and iceberg doesn't do anything for you. I'm familiar with that, right? It's iffy. Okay. But like I'll try to opt for like a Caesar salad where there's more heavier greens. Typically there's romaine stuff. I try to aim for that, even though I know the dressing has sugar in it. I'm familiar.
You would probably honestly be better off having the iceberg salad.
Really?
Yeah, because of the amount of dressing that usually comes on a Caesar salad. I think another benefit to having just a salad before you eat is that you're chewing, and we want to chew.
Yeah.
We want to chew on food. That's why there are some things like yogurt and oatmeal and things like that are, you don't really have to chew it. You just swallow it. You don't get the satisfaction of chewing on something. And there's a lot to be said for chewing and using your jaw to be able to chew something. So even if it's just an iceberg lettuce salad, you're chewing it. And there is a benefit to that too.
Yeah, there's like a brain signal that if you're chewing, you're actually eating. It's like if you slurp down your food, you're going to eat more.
So true or false? Slower eaters who chew more are less hungry or more full.
They consume less calories, yeah.
Okay, that's where I was going. Because I do that. I am a slow eater, but I do it because I'm intentionally like eating. I'm like trying not to swallow my food. I like to taste my food. So I'm chewing on and then my wife was like, "You're still eating?" My wife's going to be like, "Oh my God, he's really talking about me." But like, she's always making fun of me about eating.
You're
I'm
just
like,
mindfully eating.
Yeah, I'm just trying to like enjoy it. But yeah, so we can talk all day about the nuances of this. This is really definitely nuanced. Okay, so the event you guys got coming up, what is this event?
It's the Health Revolution.
Yes, you've been mentioning it a little bit here and there.
Yeah, I've been just bombarding everybody on social media with it. We started the event back in November of last year. Our first one was in November, and we've done a few others, and they all kind of have a different topic. The first one was just taking control of your health. We've done gut health, and this one's going to be all about mental health. So how psychiatry, medications, therapy, but also food and your lifestyle affect your mental health. And it's going to be really focused on anxiety and depression.
So
Okay.
it's essentially a panel of people. Myself, and then Melissa Bowen and Alan Green. I was about to say Greenspan, like that's not right. We're going to be the panel that will be talking about mental health, and so it's just kind of a conversation based on professionals, and then at some point the audience can ask questions, and so it's just an open conversation to normalize the discussion of anxiety and depression.
Love it. So where is this event going to be held?
City Club.
City Club. Okay. So is it this like one of the like I don't know?
It's the Evangeline room. Yeah, the small room. Hopefully one day we'll get to the big ballroom.
Yeah.
But
Okay. So you're gonna have a panel. So like basically you're gonna have an audience, and then you're gonna have a table with 5 or 6 different people. Is that how the
it's
order?
three
It's just the three of
panelists,
us.
and then I moderate it.
Okay.
Just ask them questions and keep us on time.
So is this a paid event? Like
Yes, it's
Okay.
a $50 ticket, and that covers our heavy appetizers, like a small dinner, and all the information and just the fun.
yeah. What's the dinners look like?
I don't remember what we picked, but
Salmon cucumber bites. We got some maybe little ribs. I don't remember. It was the butler's menu or whatever the menu.
Like the small.
We got the healthiest choices that we
There
could
you go.
find.
There you
We
go.
definitely made sure that what we were serving was something that I'd feel
Mindful.
comfortable.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're really
Not the fried
obsessive about the
chicken?
food.
Darn it.
There's nothing fried on that menu.
We tried to stay away from the oils too.
Yeah,
so
it's a little bit
Yeah.
harder.
we'll see.
Okay, so a good event for people that are just interested in bettering their life. You said it's a mental health focused event. The last one was more gut related. So what is next year's, if you haven't already thought about it, like what is the idea for next year?
Well, we have a few on the calendar. Children's health and women's health are the ones that we are in. They're in the works right now. We're
Got it.
planning them.
Okay. So you did one last year, right?
One last year and
Yeah.
one so far this year, and then this one.
Oh, so this will be the third one.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay. So what was the I guess the results, or like what did people think about the event? How many people attended? Like tell me a little bit about the events that already happened.
So the first one that we did, it was our pilot episode. We had a lunch and a dinner, and between the two events, I think we had 110 people show up between the two. So it was like 50 and 60 or whatever. And that was pretty fun. That was my
that's a decent
favorite
amount of
because
people,
it was a really good turnout. And the second one, I think we had about 75. And it was a good mix of just people looking to make life changes and professionals that are looking to figure out how to implement these functional changes into their practice.
I would say as a healthcare professional, so this is a path, this like what we would call functional nutrition is a path that I've been going down for, I'd say, 12 of the 15 years that I've been in practice. And early on, it was, you almost kind of feel like you need permission to do things that are outside of the norm in healthcare. And so I feel like that's why a lot of the professionals come, is to recognize that there is a community of other people that are not following just the typical path. And so it's kind of permission that we're not stepping outside of science, but just stepping outside of the norm of the general healthcare movement.
Yeah, I feel like
healthcare in
they're
general.
told to stay in their lane a lot.
Yeah.
And really, our
And that's
bodies are so multidimensional, and we're all of our parts are attached to one person. And if you're siloing healthcare and you're only looking at this inch of the body, some of this is getting affected by some of this, and just having a more holistic approach to health is going to be.
I was about to say holistic is a word that
It's a buzzword right now.
Yeah. Some people say, "Oh, holistic," and then somebody like, "Oh, yeah, that's where you want to be," because like it's nuanced and
whole.
So,
People I think overuse terms, but it really is looking at the person as a whole thing, like spiritually, physically, everything is all interconnected.
Cool stuff, man.
Yeah.
We can probably, like you said, go on for hours into the weeds of different health aspects. I mean, the soda and the tea, and like I always thought, like, I'm drinking like what literally is water with tea flavoring and a little sugar. Like I have to be hydrated, but it makes more sense now. Like, oh, of course I'm peeing a lot more. I thought I was peeing more because I was taking in more water, but hey, gosh.
You learn something new.
Yeah, there's a bunch of other questions that I could probably ask and go down a path. Probably a path that would make me scared to keep doing what I'm doing, but I don't want to go there today.
Yeah,
We'll come back.
Rethink. Yeah, help you rethink.
Yeah.
But also on our podcast, we go into a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
So where can people sign up for this event and listen to your podcast? I have a couple of links on the caption. I have your vividhealthwellness.com website. I got the unconventionaldietitian.com website there, and also have a link to the Live Vividly podcast. Are those the websites?
Yeah. So the tickets for the event are on my website, vividhealthwellness.com. There's an events page and you can buy the ticket on there. And then the podcast is wherever you consume your podcast. We have a video on YouTube and it's also on Apple and Spotify and whatever else.
Okay.
Our producer does that wherever he puts them.
Yeah. All right, cool. All right, before we go, I want to ask you, what is something that you guys are struggling with, if anything, with your journey in being better people and taking care of your body? Is there anything like it has a strong hold over you, but you know you shouldn't do it, but like you still like it? She probably does. She'd be like, I'm good. Like, whatever.
No, I'm
We're all
far from
humans.
perfect. Yeah.
I think, and I'm actively working on this, and I'm better than I was at probably the end of last year. But 2.5 years ago, I stopped drinking alcohol completely, and my cravings for sugar skyrocketed after that.
Oh.
And actually like gained quite a few pounds because I was substituting the wine with cookies. So that is probably the thing that I have to actively say, like, you don't need ice cream tonight. You know, just stay away from the sugar because it's addicting. It really is. And
Yeah.
once I have a bite, I don't stop. So
Okay,
that's
so
what I'm working on.
The wine thing. Another tangent, but I'm gonna try to keep it quick here. True or false? Red wine is good.
There are components.
Nuanced. I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, so red wine is good. I would say that is false. I mean, there is a component in red wine called resveratrol. Resveratrol. I'm like, oh, that's not right. I can't say it right. And that resveratrol is beneficial, and it is found in wine. But I don't think that it would be false to say that wine is good for you.
Yeah, like the amount of it in a glass of wine,
It's very minimal.
and then the alcohol outweighs the benefits.
Yeah.
So what could be a replacement or a substitute for that? Is there anything that people can like switch to? So like, because I know that there's people that drink red wine. I thought a glass of red wine was good. I'm like, oh, I'll take a little bit, and you know, I'm doing good for myself. But if it's so minimal, then what is something that you can switch to that's non-alcoholic? Because you know, most people, I think it's just an
Mocktails?
excuse. Huh?
Like a mocktail.
Okay.
I have a glass of sparkling wine and a lime every single day at 5. That's like, it was a ritual for me.
Yeah.
So that's what I substituted it with, but I can't speak for everybody.
Yeah.
Daphne, you drink wine from time to time.
I do.
It's not
I mean,
like,
I haven't given up alcohol. I drink every now and then.
Yeah, I mean, but is it? I mean, everything's good in moderation.
Yeah, I
within
mean, it's
reason.
just like, I kind of think of it like this. Like, we have a speed limit on the road, and
Yeah.
we're not supposed to go beyond the speed limit, but we do.
Yeah, we do.
And, you know, it doesn't tend to cause any problems unless it causes a major problem. But, I mean, generally speaking, you know, it's a little bit is not necessarily a problem. I don't have a problem with alcohol. I'll drink socially. I'll not drink. It doesn't really matter to me. But, I mean, if I'm with my girlfriends that twice a year that we get together, yeah, we're having drinks. So that's,
it's like an average of all your habits.
Yeah.
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 So that was just one that I decided to give up.
Oh, that's
and-
good.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, cool. This was a great episode, man. There was a lot of good little tidbits in here. I was a little unsure where this would go because I was like, I got the dietitian. I am not the poster child of health here, but maybe I can ask her a couple of questions.
Yeah,
and
no,
then,
I'm definitely not the food police. You know, I'll help you if you have questions, but I'm
Yeah.
not judging you based on your habits. That's all you. You figure that out on your
And
own.
that's also not a very good way to practice healthcare in general. Like,
yeah. Judging people does not make me happy. So
and it doesn't help people get better.
no, it doesn't. All right. Well, last question. This is just something that popped into my mind. If there's one thing that the masses could reduce in their life to help them be better people, what is one thing that the masses do that they can reduce?
Screen time.
Figured you were going to say that.
I think being outside and unplugged is one of the best things that we can do for our health. Just sitting outside and listening to the birds and getting fresh air and getting sunlight on your face and not staring at a blue screen.
Yeah.
It's awesome for your health.
The comment of go outside and touch grass.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot.
And the fact that we have to say that is kind of
it's wild. I know.
Yeah,
thankfully, I have an 8-year-old, so we go outside all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, my kids live outside too.
Yeah, he's into baseball, so we're constantly throwing, and then he gets tired and he gets frustrated because he's, I'm telling him to throw straighter. He's trying to throw fast and he'll throw wild, and I'm like, if you want to improve, you gotta, do this. But we'll go ride bikes and all that good stuff. So yeah, screen time is a different one, but and I'm guilty of consuming a lot of screen time.
We all are.
Yeah. So much so that my eyes are literally hurting right now because I've been on my phone all day yesterday. This morning, I had to edit a video. So, got on there and I was editing it. I had to send it to the client. I'm like, I'm starting out the day with literally my eyes fatigued. I'm like, this sucks.
Yes, it's hard when you work on a screen.
Yeah.
And all I do is social media for work. And then you want to decompress and you're still on social media. And then you watch a movie. It's just... We can't escape it. It's really hard.
We're surrounded by
you have to
sugar,
be very intentional.
Screens. It's just so bad.
It's not easy.
It's not.
But that's why we're here. That's why we're doing this health revolution, is to help people make those tiny steps, and hopefully they're exponential.
Perfect. Well, man, this is good stuff. Guys, if you were listening and you want to check out any of their information, their websites are in the caption. It is vividhealthwellness.com, the Unconventional Dietitian.com, and then their podcast. You can check it out, Living Vividly podcast. There's a YouTube link there for it. So give them a listen, check out their event if you're interested in doing better for yourself. And these two ladies are super great. They're not judgy, which is great because, sometimes people, especially in the South, can be very, very judgy and make you feel bad about yourself, and they put themselves on a pedestal, and you're just like, well, great, I'm just a terrible person. But yeah, with that, I hope you guys have a great weekend, and maybe we can find time to do this again, maybe have a longer episode, because there's a bunch of stuff I think we could talk about. But you guys talk about it on your podcast, so
we're always happy to come hang out with you. This is fun.
That'd be great. Well, I hope you have a great weekend, and I'm pretty sure I'll see you around.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. Guys, have a great weekend, and we'll see you in the next one.